On March 25, 1911, a fire broke out on the corner of Green Street in the Ash Building. The fire was sparked from a cigarette butt fusing with loosely strewn clothing scraps in the Triangle Shirtwaist factory. Fear set in when the manager could not get the corroded fire hose to operate, and the owners fled without telling the workers stationed on the upper floors. Most workplaces had only one primary exit, and the owners chose not to install sprinkler systems, two significant fire perils. Due to the limitations, many were forced to run down a narrow fire escape that eventually broke under their weight, or were trapped behind the long tables and bulky machines. Women were also then crushed as they tried to open locked doors, a standard management strategy to deter theft. Outside, firefighters' ladders were too short to reach the top floors, and ineffective safety nets ripped like paper. When the ladies realized they had no other hope, a multitude of them jumped to their deaths. Roughly 146 workers were killed in the Triangle Shirtwaist factory fire, mainly immigrant women and children. The conditions of the Triangle factory were not suitable for people, much less children, to work in. The American Federation has compared the workers to herded cattle in the way that they were crowded together at their desks at all times. The workers had never performed fire drills, and therefore they did not know how to evacuate safely. These untimely deaths could have been prevented had the owners set and enforced fire safety rules as well as followed health codes. During the Progressive Era, reforms in the labor industry surfaced. Improved laws pertaining to the restriction of child labor, minimum wage laws for women, and industrial accident insurance were passed. In 1909, 1 year before the fire, a successful strike by the International Ladies Garment Workers Union helped the unions take control due to the workers' fight for new legislation protecting organized labor.
The Triangle Shirtwaist Fire is certainly one of those stories that everybody knows and almost nobody knows. Triangles unquestionably is a major moment in history that is a salient. It's caused to action, and it really pushed a lot of people. Francis Perkins really was activated by it, and other people really saw it as a marching order.
The article Triangle Shirtwaist Fire, published by the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations, says that Clara Lemlich, a 23-year-old woman, was a major inspiration for thousands of employees who shared her ideals when she took the stage and spoke at Cooper Union. They joined her on the picket line and pressed for more equitable pay, better health benefits, and safer working conditions. One of the largest women's labor strikes in the U.S. history would grow out of this landmark action. Eventually, a series of rallies collectively referred to as the Uprising of 20,000 led to considerable concessions from factory owners. Though Progressive Era reforms changed the labor industry, they didn't create as much of an impact as the fire did, since many labor laws were created prior to the fire and many movements pushed for change, yet no laws were effectively being enforced until after the fire occurred. According to the article, How the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire Transformed Labor Laws and Protected Workers' Health by Howard Markel, a critically acclaimed social and cultural historian, after the fire, a march consisting of 350,000 people was organized as a funeral for the workers that perished in the fire, and after labor movement's continuous demands for reforms, the government signed a law that created the Factory Investigation Commission. The commission investigated almost 2,000 factories within a multitude of industries.
It's important to have these iconic moments, to have a banner that motivates people to march and bring about change, to give them energy.
Life, the woman behind the New Deal, an article published by the Francis Perkins Center, states that Frances Perkins, an American workers' rights activist and the fourth United States Secretary of Labor from 1933 to 1945, was enjoying an afternoon with her friends when all of a sudden they heard fire engines and witnessed about 47 workers jumping from the 8th and 9th floors of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. This encouraged her to work with a committee on safety and help create 8 new laws on fire safety, sanitation, and employment rules for working women and children. They instated factory inspections and established the Labor Standards Bureau. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire provided the impetus that compelled politicians to pass new rules compensating safety regulations and equality amongst workers. Uproar ensued after the fire, with various social and political groups coming together to strike against the garment industry. The minimal laws set in place for protecting workers while the factory was running are insignificant when it comes to how they were enforced. According to the article, Ethics at the Other End of the Supply Chain by John Hooker, a professor of business ethics at Carnegie Mellon University, it stated that no inspections nor consequences were put into effect in ensuring that these measures were being carried through. Cartoons illustrated directly after the fire depict inspectors in negative light. For inspectors to have approved of these conditions proves that there wasn't any push for reformation in the enforcement of labor laws.
The drive to increase taxes in order to fund regulators inspectors that go into these shops has been weak, that the nation has been steadily underfunding inspections. And there's very little appetite within America today towards a big government that has inspections that uphold these laws. and we seem as a society to be comfortable with passing rules that will prevent uh, uh, disasters like Triangle, yet we are not willing to put up the tax support, to put up the money to make sure that those laws are actually followed.
Although over 25 labor laws were passed after the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire, the most notable remains the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970, better known as OSHA. On December 19, 1970, President Richard Nixon signed the Workplace Safety Bill passing OSHA. OSHA works to ensure that concentration of responsibility for an employer is placed onto the employee during their time at work. All employers are responsible for maintaining safe and healthful working conditions for their employees to perform all tasks necessary. As instantaneous change in the labor industry is constantly happening, it is critical for labor laws to keep up with these updates.
Our economy and our politics are terribly out of balance. And out of balance in a way that has dire consequences for the vast majority of the population that is on the wrong side of that balance. Income and wealth are now radically concentrated in the hands of a tiny few. And largely as a result, political power is also distributed in a radically unequal way. The average Amazon worker makes about $29,000 a year. Jeff Bezos, the Amazon CEO, has a net worth of $150 billion. That means it would take an Amazon worker 5 million years working full-time to earn what Bezos now possesses. When we consider race and wealth together, the picture is even more dire. The 400 richest Americans now own more wealth than all African American households combined.
As seen previously, most of America's labor laws were enacted 3/4 of a century ago amidst a male, union, and manufacturing-dominated labor market. As a result, labor laws made in the past are extremely outdated, especially given how diverse today's workplaces are due to circumstances like the pandemic. All in all, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire served as a catalyst for the reform of our modern-day workplace regulations.